IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey. Do you often dream about leading a more creative life? Whether you wanted to be a painter, a dancer, a cricketer, or a photographer. Maybe you wanted to play games for a living. Growing up, financial responsibilities often take us away from our true passions. Now imagine if you could explore that creativity while still making sure that your family is financially secure. Find a way for the artist and the realist within us to coexist. Karo pure apne irade, apnon se kiye sabhi waade. SBI Life apne liye, apnon ke liye. To know more about our insurance plans with wealth creation, log on to www.sbilife.co.in. IRDAI registration number 111.
Here's your smart fact of the day. I first came to know about Lilly Singh a few years ago when my daughters kind of introduced me to Superwoman. She used to be known as Superwoman, a YouTuber who's, used this particular username. A Canadian, she is somebody who's also a comedian, an actress, a former talk show host, and Forbes named her as one of the most 40 powerful people in comedy in 2019. Millions of awards and a very, very interesting person. Welcome to Smarter with Sid. As we continue this particular mini series between, all my regular episodes of Smarter with Sid, wherein we are learning from very intelligent, very famous people and seeing how we can actually translate those lessons into our lives. Let's go. All right, then. Welcome. And before we get into the 3 lessons that Lilly Singh kind of gives me, which I want to share with you, I wanted to just quickly recap this mini series that we've done so far. We've talked of Kanye West, we've talked of Mr. Beast, we've talked of Andrew Schultz, and today we are talking of Lilly Singh. Maybe this might continue a couple of episodes more before we go back to the original normal format of me talking about various things that I see. But I just realized, and the reason why I'm doing this, I just realized that there are so many different facets of celebrities, of people who make it big, of really successful people that tend to glamorize a lot of the life around them. The kind of cars that they buy or the lifestyle that they have or the houses that they own or the quotable quotes that they give to the media. And while that's all fine and dandy, a lot of times, sometimes, you need to go down to the first principles of a person in order for it to actually hit home, those lessons to hit home. So that's the idea. You can obviously learn more than 3 lessons from each of these people, but I thought the 3 main lessons that I took away, which perhaps, I can use in my life, very selfish of me, but also you could take a look at them too and figure out if you can do something about them. So do take a look at the earlier episodes as well. But today it's all about Lilly Singh. So here's lesson number 1. Every creator is an entrepreneur par excellence, right? And an entrepreneur. Now, most of us think of creators, people who put their stuff out there, whether it's through podcasts or through YouTube channel or, any other thing. We just think of them as talented people. Talent is what we call them. Creators is what we call them. But actually, at the heart of it, a creator actually might be coming from very different, very, very different fields. You could have a doctor who's a YouTuber or a TikToker. You could have somebody who's, a real estate agent, somebody who's... So essentially, you have to be a bit of a hustler. You have to be a bit of an entrepreneur because you have to learn so many new things, including the business model that you're trying to go with, including the way in which you deal with strategic alliances and partners, including so many new things like, learning new skills on the fly, like editing or whatever it may be. And that's one of the things that Lilly Singh actually talks about quite a bit. And that's a wonderful thing to notice. She looks at herself as an entrepreneur, and that's one good way in which we can all look at ourselves. So instead of saying, hey, I'm an employee of company XYZ, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm dealing with my life, and this is the place that is currently giving me money. So treating your company like a client, maybe. That's what I thought would be lesson number one. Lesson number two is just taking one step ahead from lesson number one, which is focusing on strengths. I think Lilly Singh, when she was becoming a creator, becoming very famous, she was of the opinion that, she should be doing everything. She should be doing the shooting, she should be doing the editing, she should be doing, the brand deals, and she should focus on all the networking and the rest of it. And over a period of time, she realized, and I'm just quoting her verbatim, that in order for you to be the smartest person in the room, you perhaps have to be the dumbest person in the room, which means use your team well, utilize every other person's strengths well, which means that you focus on what you can add value to, and everybody else can perhaps do exactly the same. So building a team that you can trust, not just with their talent, but with also their attitude and their value system, maybe. But once you do that, don't go doing stuff just because you used to do it before. I look at it as two stages. Stage number one, and I've made a podcast of this earlier, which was about value and growth hypotheses. Once you have proven the value of something, which is what Lilly Singh did when she was growing up as a creator, and when you reached, all those millions of followers, there's no reason for you to just focus on the value and growth. You are growing, so focus on the value yourself and let other people grow you. Maybe that's the lesson over here, which is my second lesson from Lilly Singh. My third and most important lesson, I mean, the earlier two lessons are very important, but my third and most important lesson is about, it's a three-pronged lesson, so I want to spend a little time on it. One is embracing yourself. So Lilly Singh came out as bisexual. She opened, she came out to her parents first and then to the rest of society. She was a well-known creator by that time, so obviously she was anxious as to how people would take it, how the Indian society, conservative as it may be, both in the places that she was living in as well as the places that she came from, like Canada and India, would take. But she just came out and she said, "This is who I am and this is what I do," and kind of said that either I can live in fear or I can live in love. Now, the explanation was, if I live in fear, it means I'll have to have a private life that is not open. And so she'll always continuously keep looking over her shoulder as to what her, do people understand what her sexuality is and stuff like that. And living out of love is being a role model, being an influencer as she was, maybe talking to other people to come out of the closet themselves if they are discovering that they are bisexual or queer, or just have different preferences. And I think that that is amazing. And the way in which she did it was that she made it work for herself. Because if I look at the way in which she made it work for herself, it means that she weaved it into her narrative. She made sure that she, not only communicated it to the outside world at large, but she, made it part of her story on YouTube, made it part of her story on her late night show, made it part of her story on various things that she wrote. And that's amazing because she made it work for her, and kind of converted, as I like to say, converted stones into diamonds, or whatever you want to call it. But the most important third part of this three-pronged lesson is that she did not make it her life. She kind of understood that there was a point of time when she was just growing for the sake of growing, even before she came out, this is. And she was not having fun doing what she was doing because she didn't know where she was going. And she needed to take a step back and not embrace, the online persona so much that actually she became it. She had to take a step back and not make it her entire life. And I think that is the first step that she took before she came out and made it work for her. So there's a sequence there. You can't just come out to the public first and then try to sort out your mind later. You have to sort your mind out first and then come out to the public later. I think that's the right sequence, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, she's a very inspirational lady. I'm not sure whether I like her comedy or her content as much as I used to before. I'm hoping that now that she's trying to go back to her YouTube roots from, her forays into old media, as I call it, wherein she hosted a late night show. Maybe she will get back to her roots, and maybe she will produce even better content than what she was doing. But all said and done, whether I like her content or whether you like her content or not, she's an extremely successful young brown bisexual woman who has created a fantastic brand for herself. And why should we even label her in all those labels, right? Let's just call her a fantastic person and somebody to learn from. On that happy note, I hope you like this episode of mine, 3 Lessons from Lilly Singh. And if you like episodes like these and this podcast, do like and subscribe. I do think that will give me a lot of encouragement. Do write back. I'm the traveling professor on LinkedIn and Instagram, so I don't bite. I will respond back to you. And if you like podcasts like these, well, just go to IVM. They've got some fantastic stuff going on. All right then. Until next time.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On This Round is on me, Gauri is joined by none other than Vidya Balan, who talks about her debut Bengali film, her love for acting, and her journey as an actor so far. Speaking of Gauri Devi Dayal, she sits in for Varun on Think Fast with Suchita this week. Gauri, as you know, besides being an avid podcaster, is a restaurant and co-founder of Food Matters. She discusses everything that has happening in the F&B space and how the pandemic has affected their business. Tune in to Say No to Drama as Chetna is here to tell us all about what we need to remember and avoid when we embark on a new journey. Mahek and Harshit from All Things Policy talk about the Indian government promoting traditional medicines like Coronel and Giloy and how we can take a scientific approach to traditional medicine. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya talks about Indian MPs and their salaries, women's labor, tensions over commercial surrogacy, and a whole lot more. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform that you might be listening to us. You can also check us out on YouTube. We have a webpage, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where a list of all our channels are. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
We know you love fast food,
fast fashion,
faster payment,
lightning fast internet speed.
then why not fast information?
On Think Fast, where we discuss the latest developments in the world of technology, business, marketing, pop culture.
With a side of sarcasm and my dad jokes, not just mine.
Not mine, Varun. My jokes are funny. So join me, guys, the funnier one, Suchita Salvan, co-founder of LBB.
And me, Varun Dugirala, the co-founder of The Glitch, as we think fast only on the IVM network.
Fresh episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.